started with an inspiration from an article or some articles that we read in newspaper and magazines early in 2000, in the early 2000s, not 2008, not 2009, but information came out in articles about this wonderful find of these manuscripts in Timbuktu. So, with the knowledge of this, we just kind of let this marinate in our heads for a little while, because we really didn't know how we would be able to learn more about these manuscripts, or even bring the exhibit to North Carolina. Actually, we didn't even know an exhibit existed. So it took us a while. I think it was in 2008 when we found out that there was actually an exhibit at the International Museum of Muslim Cultures in Jackson, Mississippi. And so we started on this journey of trying to figure out how will we get this exhibit to North Carolina. We took the idea to our board of directors. And once they gave us an okay and a nod to say, well, let's try to see what we can do, we started by making a phone call to the International Museum of Muslim Cultures in Jackson, Mississippi, to get the specifics of how we would get this exhibit here. We received the traveling exhibit specifications in January, so it's been about a year. In January '09, we received a notebook with the specifications of how to get the exhibit to North Carolina. By March and April, we were at the point of pulling together a team. But prior to that, we had to find out, well, where in the world could we bring this exhibit? Where could we host it? What type of venue could we find? Well, understanding the importance of the exhibit, we really wanted it to be in the best place that we could possibly have it. We searched some of the areas in the downtown area of Raleigh, and maybe about 3 or 4 of them, but we were not able to secure a place. We actually came back to our partner, the Cameron Village Library, and we just came to the conclusion this is really the best place. The next step was actually pulling the partners together to figure out what we wanted to do, but the most important part was how were we going to fundraise. But we pulled the partners together, starting with the library. We were fortunate enough to go back to the University of North Carolina's African Studies Center with Barbara Anderson, the North Carolina Museum of History, Emily Grant, and the Islamic Association of Raleigh was a new partner with us, with Brother Fayez and Adila Shabazz. So we really have a wonderful team working on this project. The next task was to raise the funds. So the team went into action, trying hard to get those funds together to pay for the exhibit, to have it brought here. There were several methods that we used. The first method is we participated in the 2009 International Festival. It's always held at the Convention Center downtown Raleigh. So we used that as a way, as an opportunity to raise funds, and that turned out pretty good. We also used the method of sending out letters to businesses and to individuals asking for their support. We have a grant writer that's a part of our board. She got busy and wrote a grant to the North Carolina Humanities Council, a mini grant, and that was successful. We also contacted a couple of businesses in the area, the Al Medina Grocery and Restaurant on Method Road, and the IIPH bookstore on Avent Ferry, who set up a donation station in their store, and they were able to collect some funds for us. After raising funds to get the exhibit here, we started working on the programming. Well, that really wasn't a big issue because we have wonderful team members.
Our main purpose is to give some historical context to why Timbuktu would become this extremely well-known, famous center of learning and scholarship throughout most of the world. Folks from thousands of miles away in 1500 would have known of Timbuktu. In Timbuktu, at a time when Europeans were experiencing plague, didn't know how to dispose of waste in their own cities, in Timbuktu there were delicate eye surgeries that were being performed. The level of scholarship, of judicial regulation and learning was unparalleled throughout most of the world. Now, how in the world does a place like Timbuktu get to be like that? Well, on Tuesday evening, I'll be back here at the library in this room showing a short documentary. It's about an hour long. It's entitled Caravans of Gold. It is about the history of Africa in the 1300s and 1400s, just at a point that Europe was hoping to become an economic power, was hoping to develop itself culturally, intellectually, in many cases trying to compete with what was already well established in West Africa and in East Africa. So this is a very interesting, beautiful documentary that we'll show on Tuesday evening at 7:30.
I want to really, and you've seen the film and you have the brochure. I want to put it into context just for a few minutes. I'm just going to be here for a few minutes. I did not bring a prepared anything because we kind of snuck up on Naomi and the team because I really didn't think we could be here. But we came just kind of we just couldn't help but, want to see the first one open and see how it looked and all of that. So I'm really going to be pulling from a model curriculum that we're developing. So I'll pull a few points from there just to give you a sense of the context and the storyline for the exhibition. But I want to begin, before I do that, I want to refocus you and to remind you of something our president said, President Barack Obama, in Cairo, Egypt, in June of this year. If you don't have that speech, if you have not seen it, you must go back to see it and see either the live presentation or the speech. I just want to read a few things from that. He says, "I have come here to seek a new beginning between the United States and Muslims around the world. One based upon mutual interest and mutual respect, and one based upon the truth that America and Islam are not exclusive and need not be in competition. Instead, they overlap and share common principles of justice and progress, tolerance, and the dignity of all human beings." The idea is that many times we don't reflect, for those that know and have the knowledge of Islam's influence in that region. What did it mean? And I want to be able to quote it the way that we're presented it in here. So please excuse me if I read a few points from this. The important message is that most of us might not know what it meant to be learned in during this particular time in history. In order to do that, we need to, first of all, understand that this was a time in history when Africans and Arabs led the West and the rest of the civilized world. This was called the Islamic Age, the golden age of Islam. It was a period in history when Islamic ideas or the Islamic worldview dominated the progressive mind. And we're talking about just over 600 years ago.